You're an immortal. She is a time traveler. Every now and then you two pop into each other's lives. I watched mostly. Since I would forget the beginning and there would be no end, there was little else to do. Playing a part in the world seemed to have no effect. Anything I built faded away. Any person I came to know would be gone. It all seemed so inconsequential. I watched an endless ocean of humanity, none of them memorable. Except one. She was different. I saw her here and there, slipping through the flow of time, sometimes old, sometimes young. She found me first. Or maybe I found her and she came back for me. I don't know. But it was early, very early, not long after I discovered that time did not pass for me as it did for others. In Egypt, during the time of the pharaohs, I was sitting on the bank of the Nile watching the waters slowly pass when she sat beside me. She was old. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" "Yes," I replied. Her accent was strange. "Who are you?" She smiled at me. "I forget that you haven't met me yet." She extended a hand. "I'm Sarah." There was a merriment to her blue eyes, shining forth with a vibrancy that belied the wrinkled skin of her face. I glanced at her hand and then accepted it. It felt somehow natural. "I'm Zell." "I know. How? Have we met?" I asked. "Yes, a long time ago and a long time from now." "What does that mean?" "It means that I am special Zell. Like you, but different," she replied, turning to watch the Nile as well. "Time doesn't pass for you?" "It flows around me. I dip and dive throughout it, though I can't control it." She smiled, a bit of sadness in her face. "This is the earliest I have come back." "Oh, do you like it?" "I like that you are here. I wasn't sure you would be." She took a handful of the silt, rubbing it between her finger and forefinger. "Are we friends?" She turned to look at me. "More." Then she was gone. I did not see her again for a century, the memory of the initial encounter fading but still present. When I saw her next, she was young, younger than me, just a child. I cannot explain why I was drawn to her. Maybe it was because she looked out of place, like she did not belong. Her clothing was strange. She looked different than everyone else, and she was scared. Streams of tears were running down her face. I did not recognize her yet. She was just an oddity that had attracted my attention amidst a sea of sameness. I walked up and knelt down in front of her. Her brilliant blue eyes peered out from a cascade of blonde hair. As soon as her eyes locked with mine, I knew. I don't know how. I just did. She was so different this time. Not the wizened woman that had sat beside me a century before. She was vulnerable, alone. "Sarah," I whispered. Her eyes widened. She wiped the tears from her face with the back of her forearm. I don't know what's going on." "How do you know me?" I reached out and offered my hand to her, just as she had done so long ago. After a moment of hesitation, she took it. I gave it a squeeze of comfort. "I'm Zell. I met you a long time ago, when you were older." She stares at me. "I don't know what that means." She breaks down into tears again. I pull her hand closer and wrap her into a hug. "You are special, Sarah, like me. Wherever you go, if you find me, I will be the same. I will be here in the world, always waiting." She cried into my shoulder, trying to understand. She didn't want to be this way. Then she was gone. A few hundred years passed before I saw her again. I had grown restless in the intervening time, tired of watching the flow of humanity around me. I had taken up the sword and put it down. I had ruled and been ruled. None of it made an impression. None of it mattered. I just wanted to see her again, to know she was safe, to be there for the one person that might understand me and that I could understand in return. And then she was there. A beautiful woman, my age by appearance, though I was hundreds of years beyond her. She was standing on the edge of a field, watching the gentle sway of the crops. A faint smile was on her face as I came up to stand beside her. "Hello, Zell." "Hello, Sarah." She reached her hand out and I took it, feeling its warmth. "It has been a long time," I whispered. "Has it?" She squeezed my hand. "I can never tell." My thumb rubbed the back of her hand, slowly and methodically, feeling the smooth skin and the bumps of her bones underneath. "How long?" she asked. "A few centuries." "That long?" "Yes." "When did you see me last?" "In the markets in Cairo. You were crying." I laced my fingers between hers, locking us together, hoping we could stay like this. Her time would be short, though, just as mine was always long. She nods. That was the first time. Are you okay? Yes. It helps when we find each other. Why? You're my constant. You're the only way I know time. I nod at this. I understand. You're my permanence. I am glad we found each other this time, Zell. The last trip was upsetting. Why? The world doesn't always look like this. Sometimes things have gone wrong. What happens? Let's just enjoy this moment. It will happen when it happens. I turned to look at the field, enjoying her hand in mine. Then she was gone.